Hello and welcome back to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about the T-54D. This tank is the new German Tier 9 medium premium tank that is going to be available through the St. Patrick's Day event in World of Tanks. You're going to have to get this tank through loot boxes called Emerald Boxes, and the event starts tomorrow. So let's have a look at the statistics of this tank. So let's look at its statistics. So the T-54D, as I said, is a Tier 9 German medium tank. So, kind of contrary to belief, it's a T-54. That's normally a Russian designation, but it's German. It's a captured tank as such. So, DPM, 2.2k. This is base. All of these statistics are base. That's pretty okay. With a gun rammer, you're going to be able to pick that up to about 2.6. That's pretty good. You've got decent alpha damage at 390, so you are going to be punishing pretty hard for each shot. That's kind of quite nice. You got a decently long reload time at like 10.64 seconds base. You're probably going to be able to get that down to like 9.2 odd with a gun rammer. So this tank's going to be kind of similar a little bit to the Tier 8 American premium tank, the Iron Arnie, and kind of that kind of thing. And you'll also see other similarities later on as I took at the armor model of this tank. So, 0.32 dispersion. It's pretty nice. It's not completely inaccurate. That's going to be pretty reliable, actually. And especially if you use V-stabs and stuff on this tank, you are going to have pretty decent gun handling. So, this tank's not very quick for a medium tank. It only goes 40 forwards with a turbo. And if you're using like a base turbo, you're only really going to pick it up to like 44. It's not very quick. You know, you are going to be slower than some heavy tanks at Tier 9. So don't expect this thing to be able to get into position particularly quickly, but it's not the slowest, so it's kind of that awkward mid-ground. Gun depression is very poor on this tank. You've only got 5 degrees of gun depression, so it's going to be pretty tricky to work a hull down or any form of like elevation on this in this tank, so you do have to be aware of that. Hull armor, and its armor, as we're going to look at in a little bit more detail, but on the base statistics, it looks pretty okay. Turret armor at the front, 240, hull, 100. It does have a couple of like little caveats to that armor, which you're going to see. 1600 HP, that's pretty nice. You'll be able to trade pretty effectively with that. If you run a hardening on that, you'll be able to pick it up to, I think, about 1740, 1760. So, pretty good. You can trade quite nicely with that. It has pretty poor view range at 380 meters, so definitely be aware of that. You know, you may even want to run a setup with optics on this tank. And I will recommend equipment in a second. But yeah, statistics, base-wise, it's looking okay. So let's have a look at the armor model. So here's the T-54D in tanks.gg looking at its armor model. So as you can kind of tell, if we look at the visual aspect, it's got spaced armor. And when I was saying we're looking at the base armor statistics, it has a few caveats. Yeah, that spaced armor is one of the caveats. It makes this tank's frontal armor versus things like heat pretty effective. Against AP, obviously, it's going to lack. But if we're looking at its firing APCR against itself, its turret's pretty strong. You know, in its weakest places, it's got 315 millimeters, and that's kind of in these lower extremities of the turret next to the gun mantlets. It has 2 cupolas, one bigger, one smaller, one further back, one further forwards, and they're pretty easily pennable. But once again, they're not massive. However, this tank's roof can be overmatched by itself. So you know, if you're pretty much playing against this tank and you know you're shooting it, and for whatever reason you can't see its cupolas, kind of aim towards its roof and kind of general cupola area, and you will basically overmatch the roof. Even if you missed a cupola here and you hit below, you're still going to pen, which is pretty nice. Its hull armor is, yeah, pretty nice. You know, it has got these kind of sidebar things, so if you're playing in like a tier 7 and you're fighting this thing frontally, don't bother shooting it here. You know, maybe aim for these little holes here or these kind of sidebars here. This tank can side scrape pretty nicely. To be fair, it can, you know, it hasn't really got a shot trap. Like most tanks normally have a shot trap here. It does, it has a very little one, but it's not going to be particularly visible. So say we're side scraping around a corner like this. Yeah, you're pretty nice. Yeah, you can pen here, but if you kind of like don't angle and kind of bait, you can kind of like bait some shots into the rear back. Yeah, you'll be able to side scrape in this thing. So armor-wise, this tank's looking pretty neat. So, let's go to equipment, and then I'll give you my final conclusion on this tank. So, for equipment, it's pretty simple. You're going to want to be taking for your first setup, hardening, turbo, and rammer, pretty normal. And then for your second setup, hardening, V-stabs, and rammer. So, the first setup you want to use on a map where you maybe need a turbo to get into position. The second one maybe on a city-based map where you're going to be a little bit closer, but you could also use the second one on a map which is more open, where you may just take a position and then be sniping, and the V-stabs will definitely help with that. For field mods, it's pretty generic. You're going to want to be taking the normal kind of tier 9 German medium tank kind of field mods, so don't worry too much about them. But what is my final conclusion on this tank? I know that's what all of you want to know. Well, this tank's looking pretty good. It's definitely not going to be overpowered. It's definitely not going to be completely shit. So, is it worth getting? Because the big caveat with this tank is you are going to have to buy loot boxes and gamble to get it. And my saying on that is always, if you have thousands of pounds or thousands of euros, you know, and you earn a lot of money and you want to spend it on a game, yeah, go for it, I guess. But this tank is definitely not going to be like a big miss out kind of thing if you don't get it. So, would I buy loot boxes to get this tank? No, I'm not going to be. I really don't feel like I'm missing out on much with this tank. Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, it looks like it might be quite fun to play. But it doesn't seem new. It's so similar to stuff we already have in the game, like the Iron Arnie, which, you know, a lot of people will have picked up in the Christmas boxes last year. So that's kind of my opinion, is if you're going to spend money on the game, I guess, pick it up through loot boxes maybe, but you might have to buy all the way up to 300 of them. If, you know, you're a collector, yeah, I guess go for it. But if you're not, it's really not worth it. It's just another tier 9 medium tank, really, that has decent-ish armor, a decent-ish gun. That's about it. It's nothing special. You're not missing out at all. So, thank you for watching today's video, and I tried to get this out as quickly as I could for you. I'm literally about to go play maneuvers in 20 minutes, so I'm editing this and getting it uploaded as soon as I can. But if you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And literally just this second, I'm just watching it now, we just hit 1,000 subscribers. So thank you ever so much for all the support recently. It's been a little bit insane. So, I don't know, let's go for 1,500 subs by the end of summer. Why not? Let's be ambitious. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye.